Does the state of our world concern you? Do you feel that something needs to be done about racism, gun violence, climate change, and other issues that continue to plague our country? The Sisters of St. Francis do as well. We have worked for peace with justice since the 1970s with the Committee for Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation, taking primary responsibility for keeping our sisters and companions informed and proposing ways to take action. Grounded in the gospel, Catholic social teaching, and Franciscan values, the congregation has taken corporate stands on particularly significant issues: immigration, war, human trafficking, death penalty, care for creation, and gun violence. We invite you to listen to ways we respond to these issues and join in our quest for change. Visit our website to learn more.
In 2016, we affirmed a corporate stand and care for creation, in which we committed ourselves to ecological education of ourselves and others, leading to concrete actions both individually and communally. We recognize fully that care for creation is deeply rooted in our Franciscan spirituality, and it is a core value for us. There has always been true for us, but at this point in our history, Earth, our common home, is in significant danger. There is an urgency to act, because if we don't act soon, the damage will be irreversible. Today, environmental changes that affect Earth and the quality of life of her inhabitants have become enormous. There are signs of global climate change everywhere. We are losing species at a rate of 10,000 per year. Our lakes, rivers, and oceans are contaminated. Our air is polluted and even toxic. Our rainforests are being destroyed. Fracking the land for fossil fuels is destroying the land and our water systems. We have exploited the resources of native peoples and taken more than our share of all resources. Pope Francis's May 24, 2015 encyclical Laudato Si calls on each of us to love, respect, and nurture Earth, our sister and mother, and our shared inheritance and home. As both Pope Francis and Saint Francis have helped us to understand, Earth is given by God for our sustenance and joy, and entrusted to our committed care. As Franciscans, we nurture and cherish a sisterly relationship with all creation, but equally as important, we invite all who share this common heart to walk side by side with us in caring for creation at all levels. Earth is our sister and our mother, and right now she needs our help. Beginning December 8, 2021, we are joining the Laudato Si action platform with a public statement and a commitment to journey with the Church in this 7-year plan.
We, the Sisters of St. Francis of Philadelphia, take the need to confront racism very seriously, and this issue is at the forefront of our work. Although the congregation has yet to take an official corporate stand on the issue of racism, we acknowledge that any change must start with me. We have all heard these words expressed in a variety of ways before. But ask yourself, Do I really believe them? In their pastoral statement, Open Wide Our Hearts, the U.S. Catholic bishops assert, racism is a failure to acknowledge another as brother and sister, created in the image of God. If all of us deeply understood this, would we still be experiencing and witnessing racism in our daily lives? Do we believe it is an absolute necessity to look deep within ourselves to determine what part we play in the racist culture that prevails in this country? Racism is rooted in our culture, our country, and our churches, and in us as a people. As Sisters of St. Francis of Philadelphia, we invite ourselves, our companions, and our co-workers, along with our elected officials and church leaders, to address the atrocities of racism on all levels. While we are long overdue in directly confronting the reality of racism, we recognize the need to look within our own hearts as we meditate on the words, "To change the world, I must start with me." We also continue to engage in conversation around identified local, regional, national, or global issues rooted in the intersection of racism, migration, and climate crisis, and to examine their effects, exploring the underlying causes, formulating responses, and taking action and initiatives in the pursuit of justice.
Gun violence is a leading cause of premature death in our country. There is an epidemic of violence that directly threatens our human right to be safe and secure and to live without fear. Fueling this epidemic, laws on guns in the U.S. are inconsistent and weak, and federal, state, and local governments are not meeting their obligation under international law to protect people's safety. In 2019, the Sisters of St. Francis of Philadelphia, conscious of the growing use of handguns, assault rifles, and other weapons in our society, took a corporate stand on behalf of gun safety reform, thereby committing to educate ourselves and others toward the promotion of justice, peace, and reconciliation. We call on our sisters and companions to do what we can to bring to light the enormity of this crisis and the toll taken on human life because of adequate gun safety reform. This is our call. This is our challenge. Let us strive to be women and men of peace by our work toward fair and adequate legislation on gun safety reform.
Our corporate stand for immigration reform. Although this corporate stand taken in 1996 was first done by the congregation, it remains high on our priority list because Congress has failed to enact needed comprehensive reforms, resulting in highly punitive measures, including the separation of thousands of families who fled poverty and violence and have lived here for many years, contributing to American life and economy. Parents have been detained and deported. Young people who were brought here as children and know no other home were offered temporary protection by DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and as an executive order which was since rescinded by the previous president and reinstated by our current president. If legislation is not passed by Congress, up to 800,000 young dreamers could be deported. The rise of anti-immigrant bias and backlash in the United States and congressional legislation severely restricting the number of and conditions for admitting immigrants seeking political asylum gravely concerns the Sisters of St. Francis of Philadelphia. We continue to seek just, comprehensive immigration reform through legislation and take action to diminish the economic and political hardships immigrants face, including those who are undocumented.
Additional corporate stands and issues we continue to address include the death penalty, human trafficking, and war. These corporate stands are concrete ways of affirming our belief in nonviolence and of taking the necessary steps to be a healing, compassionate presence in our violent world, especially with those who have no voice. We support the dignity of each individual and of all human life, even the life of a person who has committed an evil act. So in our stand against the death penalty, we call for an end to state-sanctioned killing. All human beings are created in God's image. We cannot teach that killing is wrong by killing. Similarly, we stand against human trafficking. The terrible reality is that human slavery still exists throughout the world, including in the United States. Trafficking of human beings is a violation of human dignity, and we must do what we can to eradicate trafficking, both for sex and for labor. War is a profound violation of human dignity and life. Although the most recent war has ended, violence continues in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other countries. Rather than our engaging in negotiations to resolve major conflicts, discussion continues about the use of nuclear weapons. Our corporate stand against war reminds us that peace cannot be won by waging war.
Situations of injustice and violence continue to take on new dimensions and challenges. In addition to our corporate stands, we raise awareness on ending torture, canceling debt for impoverished countries, and ending Islamophobia. In collaboration with other faith partners, we join these efforts in a number of ways. We share our information on our website and issue action alerts. We call our representatives in Congress, sometimes visit their local offices, and attend prayer vigils. We encourage continued prayer for all those suffering from injustice and violence, noting special days or weeks of remembrance. We participate in meetings and workshops, volunteer and minister with people on the margins, and sometimes we join nonviolent marches. Grounded in prayer and Franciscan spirituality, we take action to live out our corporate stands and to be with vulnerable people and all creation in their cry for justice. In all these actions, we believe that we help to keep hope alive in a suffering world. To learn more, join us and peruse our webpage.